Well, today, it's been exactly 1 year since Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, which means that it's been about 3 years since you last went to the polls. But despite Rishi Very English getting no votes, how has he done at leading England in arguably one of its toughest times in his first and potentially final year as our Prime Minister? Well, let's check the progress on his own infamous 5-point plan. As a reminder, he wanted to halve inflation, and he also wanted to grow the economy. He wanted to reduce the national debt, which we'll see it in a minute at its current levels, it's pretty shocking. And he also wanted to reduce the NHS waiting lists, and he also wanted to reduce the amount of small boats carrying randomers across the English Channel. So let's start with number 1, halving inflation. Because to be fair, this is probably the one where Rishi has actually done the best so far. Because we reached a peak of 11.1% inflation in 2022, and luckily, we are actually on the downtrend. Albeit, this is very much in line with global inflation data, because every other country is coming down too. So how much Rishi is accountable for all of this, I'm really not sure. So point 1 is a work in progress. And in my eyes, point 1 and 2 are very similar, because halving inflation would easily lead to growing the economy, because people don't want to shop as much when they feel skint. So they really go hand in hand, and to be fair, I think Rishi and the team actually knew that when they put this together, meaning that point 2 is also a work in progress. However, that's as good as it's gonna get for Rishi, because he then wanted to reduce the national debt. And as you can see on screen, it isn't going down. In fact, it currently goes up at over £5,000 every single second. That is the future money of the UK just being deleted. And I know the government look at it as a ratio of debt to GDP, but if that was your bank account, it doesn't matter how Rishi Sunak dresses it up. Things are absolutely awful. So Rishi mate, you failed on point 3. Then we move on to number 4, the NHS waiting list. And that's almost as bad as the national debt, because everything is up by almost a third to a half. In fact, we're just about to cross the threshold of 8 million individual people on an NHS waiting list. Some of these operations will be critical, and some of it less so. But every single one of those 8 million is a human with a story to tell. So again, Rishi has solidly failed point 4, because this chart shows no sign of slowing down, especially not when we have half the planet coming in every single day. Which moves us on to part 5 of Mr. English's plan, stopping the boats. Well, we still have many boats making the journey across the Channel. In fact, in the last year alone, we've had almost 30,000 people cross our border. And those are just the ones that we know about, so who knows what the real number is. And although the chart is slightly more favourable this year, things are still multiple times worse than they were just a few years ago. But with all of this in mind, how do I rate Rishi's first and potentially final year? Well look, leading a country is hard, especially one with such a strong history as England and also Great Britain. And he's also only had 1 year in office, because you must admit it's going to take some time to settle. Unfortunately, you can't just waltz in on day 1 and get it all correct. So I'm gonna have to rate his performance as a D, because he hasn't destroyed England, but he also hasn't improved it. So I don't think he's passed the test. Because at the end of the day, he's the one who made this 5-point plan, and he's failed on 3 out of 5 of them. And you know the government wouldn't take this plan on unless the forecasts were in their favour. But now the results are in, it's not looking good. But how would you rate his performance? Have I been too generous? Will the national debt ever come down? And why on earth has the government given away over 100 brand new free homes to random migrants from random places? So thank you for subscribing, thank you to the channel members, and thank you for checking out this video on screen.
This country has gone crazy.